You wake up before the alarm, not rested, not fully awake, just awake enough to know the phone is there. So you check it before your feet touch the floor. One work message, 2 emails, a meeting moved into the only empty space you had left. Nothing dramatic has happened. No one is shouting. But your day has already been entered by other people before you have even entered it yourself. And somehow, this is still being called freedom. Flexibility was supposed to be one of the great upgrades of modern work. Work from home, hybrid weeks, async communication, AI tools, choose your hours, build your rhythm, and some of that is real. For some people, flexibility has saved commuting time, protected family life, reduced stress, and made work more human. Nobody serious should romanticize the old office culture where people wasted hours proving they were physically present. But something else happened when work became flexible. The boundary got softer. The office did not disappear. It moved into the phone. The manager did not always become less demanding. Sometimes the demand just became quieter, more digital, more polite, and harder to refuse. The old clock was brutal, but at least you could see it. The new clock lives in your pocket and vibrates whenever someone else needs something. Microsoft calls this the infinite workday. People check email before normal working hours. Messages stack up through the day. Meetings cut into focus time. Workers return at night. Sunday catch-up becomes a survival strategy for Monday. That is not just a communication problem. That is a life structure problem. When work can enter every part of the day, people change around it. They answer slower because every answer opens another door. They protect one empty calendar block like emergency oxygen. They check messages early because the day feels less dangerous when they know what is waiting. They work Sunday evening because Monday already feels overloaded. They use AI to move faster and then quietly discover that faster often becomes the new baseline. You just notice that rest no longer feels protected. And this pressure does not land the same way on everyone. For many men, fake flexibility often arrives through visibility, status, and replaceability. A man may say he likes hybrid work, and he may mean it, but privately, he also knows absence can look like lower commitment. So he goes into the office when he does not need to. He answers late because he does not want to look difficult. He accepts one more task because saying no feels like losing ground. He learns the new AI tool quickly because he can feel the quiet threat behind the word efficiency. A lot of men learn to treat work like a constant audition. Stay visible, stay useful, stay calm, stay low maintenance. Do not become the guy who needs too many boundaries. Do not become the guy whose role looks easy to automate. For many women, fake flexibility often lands through care, scheduling, and invisible coordination. A woman may be praised for hybrid work because it gives her balance, while the actual day becomes a stack of overlapping responsibilities. Work messages, school logistics, family needs, appointments, food, transport, emotional repair, the quiet mental list nobody sees until something goes wrong. Flexibility can help her survive that. But survival is not the same as freedom. She may work from home and still be the default person who notices the missing appointment, the empty fridge, the parent's call, the partner's stress, the household detail that becomes a crisis if nobody catches it. She may choose flexible work because the alternative is worse. That does not make it truly free. So the contrast is not men versus women. Men are often pushed toward visible availability. Women are often pulled into invisible availability. One keeps proving value, the other keeps preventing collapse. These are not moral rankings. They are different forms of access. Managers often become the human shock absorbers of broken systems. Pressure comes from above, confusion comes from the side, exhaustion comes from below. When that layer loses energy, everyone feels it Direction gets vague, feedback comes late, priorities change without explanation, teams become anxious, people start managing around the workplace instead of trusting it. Then AI enters the room wearing the friendliest possible mask. Productivity, acceleration, empowerment, augmentation. Some of that is true. There are workers using AI to remove boring tasks, write cleaner drafts, summarize long documents, learn faster, and protect focus. AI is not automatically the enemy of ordinary workers. The pressure is not only replacement. The pressure is redesign without consent. If AI helps you finish the same task faster, does your workload shrink, or does the target move? If software can summarize meetings, do you get fewer meetings, or do meetings become cheaper to create? If AI drafts the first version, do you get more time to think, or are you expected to produce 3 times as much? And if your digital behavior becomes training data, are you still just working, or feeding a system that may later measure, manage, or replace parts of what you do? That is where the nice story starts to crack. OECD has warned that AI at work can bring benefits, but also risks around automation, privacy, bias, transparency, and loss of agency. Workers are right to ask sharper questions before every new tool is sold as progress. What data is collected? Who benefits? Does this tool reduce workload or raise expectations? Does it protect focus or create more output pressure? Does it give the worker more control or the system more access? Those are adult questions. Reuters has also reported concerns around workplace tools that track employee computer activity to train AI systems. Once workers know they are being measured like that, they change. They become careful in chats. They stop experimenting openly. They avoid writing the honest sentence. They optimize for what looks productive. The workplace becomes less human before any official rule changes. No policy has to say, stop being honest. The system just has to make honesty measurable. Gig work shows the same pattern in a rougher form. Companies defend flexibility. Workers and unions ask what kind of flexibility it is when the individual carries the risk alone. Some people genuinely want flexible platform work. Some need it because their life does not fit a normal schedule. Some use it as a bridge, a buffer, a second income, a way to survive. But when flexibility is the only thing offered without stability, it is not freedom. It is a polite word for carrying the risk alone, and this is where the class line becomes impossible to ignore. A well-paid knowledge worker may use flexibility to avoid commuting and protect deep work. A service worker may work weekends because the economy needs bodies when other people are off. Eurostat reported that more than 1 in 5 employed people in the EU usually worked weekends in 2025, with much higher rates among service and sales workers. That is not a lifestyle trend. That is the social schedule being split by class. Some people get work-life balance as a perk, others get Saturday as a shift. The public conversation often misses this because it talks from the laptop class. But ordinary life is not one workplace. A nurse, cleaner, delivery driver, security guard, retail worker, warehouse worker, teacher, office employee, freelancer, and project manager do not experience flexibility the same way. So when the solution is sold as freedom, the first question should always be, freedom for whom? And who absorbs the mess? It is easy to criticize remote work, AI, gig platforms, hybrid culture, and digital tools as if ordinary people using them are the problem. But that misses the target. A parent who needs remote days is not the problem. A worker using AI to survive overload is not the problem. A platform worker trying to make rent is not the problem. A manager trying to keep a broken team functioning is not the problem. The damage is not in every flexible choice. The damage is in the structure that uses flexibility to remove clear responsibility. When flexibility means you can choose your rhythm, it can be dignified. When flexibility means the company can reach you anytime, measure you constantly, change the rules quietly, and call your exhaustion autonomy, then the word has been stolen. People do not only burn out when they collapse, many burn out by becoming smaller. They stop answering friends, they stop cooking properly, they stop taking the longer walk, they stop applying for better jobs because they cannot face one more process. They stop expecting rest to restore them. And that is the hidden behavior underneath all the buzzwords. Agility can mean never knowing what matters this week. Autonomy can mean being left alone with impossible expectations. Productivity can mean output rising while recovery disappears. AI transformation can mean workers training tools that make their own position more fragile. Flexibility can mean the employer gets flexible access to the worker, not the worker getting real control over life. But people are not passive. Workers are becoming more boundary aware. Unions and regulators are starting to treat AI and platform work as labor issues, not just innovation stories. Some employees are learning to ask better questions before accepting the shiny version of the future. What is being measured? What is being automated? Who decides? Who benefits? Who carries the risk? What happens to the saved time? Does the workday actually get lighter, or does the baseline just move? Flexibility is not the enemy. Fake flexibility is. Real flexibility gives people more control over their day. Fake flexibility gives the system more access to the person. Real flexibility respects recovery. Fake flexibility turns recovery into a personal responsibility problem. Real flexibility makes life more possible. Fake flexibility makes the worker more available and calls it progress. The next work boundary will not be whether people sit in an office or at home. That fight is already too small. The real boundary is this: when the workday ends, does it actually end? If the answer is no, then we should stop pretending the problem is time management. The problem is access. And reclaiming dignity starts there. Not with a dramatic exit, not with pretending everyone can just say no. It starts with naming what is happening clearly. Who has access to your morning? Who has access to your evening? Who has access to your weekend? Who has access to your attention, your data, your energy, your body, your patience, your recovery? Because ordinary people are not machines with better calendars. They are human beings with limits. And protecting those limits is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is not resistance to progress. It is self-respect. Real flexibility should give life back. If it only makes you easier to reach, easier to measure, easier to stretch, and easier to exhaust, then it was never freedom. It was just a trap with better language. And the way out begins with refusing to call the trap freedom.